I don't think this will take too long, but Brian, I think it's just more trying to see if it's easier for you guys to do this, whether or if it's just easier for me to do it.
There's the other piece.
We have a static core database that we inherited from Energen that I've added some additional rows and columns from some data that when we bought QEP, but it'd be really nice if, I don't want to ask Tim to do this, but I mean, we really need a large analytical database with all of our core data.
Yep.
It's kind of silly that we don't have one already. And we bought Energen back in 2018, and they had one. They had a Spotfire dashboard, and we're,
Well,
a quarter of the way through 2026.
I think the biggest problem has just been what Tim showed in that last meeting, where prior to having that search utility, they didn't even know where stuff was. Nobody knew where stuff was on a network drive. And still even today, not everybody knows about this QEP thing. So step one, find everything. Step two, consolidate it. Step three, format it so that it's useful in analytics.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's why I hired Daisy. And when she was under my purview, she was doing that. I think she had gotten a code or something from Haley, which is from I don't know where, to at least assess and get all the initial like geoscience data. But her task was like she was the onerous task of going through individual well files within certain repositories and these large network drives that we acquired from these companies and making sure that all of the geodata was properly cataloged. I knew she had done that with Energen and she found a lot of stuff. And that would be perfect task for somebody like her. So, I mean, but not my flying monkeys anymore. Okay, I was wanting to kind of get with you guys and look at, I don't know if this will be easier kind of in your little PetraRes app that you utilize that an IP better, your ML. But I'm kind of wanting to map out some of the TOC and the clay in those wells and that AOI. Where y'all did a lot of your analysis.
Okay.
And then I'm probably going to need a lot of those wells. I'm going to need, I don't know what Ben does not have time to continue his normalization project in Delaware right now because he's been tasked with this mega important top secret Barnett modeling project. But I'm going to need gamma rays normalized so I can do just some basic cutoffs from, a lot of these wells in my Petra project are pretty old. So I need some normalization work done.
What do you need it done over? Just the pen or the entire sort of that interval?
No, just the pen. We've got a lot of high energy debris, those debrites that are coming off from those proximal shells and the platform that's kind of close by. And I did a quick QC or a quick calculation, and there are a ton of bullseyes, and it's just normalization. So there's some count logs in there, which are super fun, that I could probably throw out. But I gotta use the data that I have. I don't have as much data as like the Midland Basin, in this area.
Okay, yeah, we can help with that. We just need to know, I guess, what the data set is that you're using. Get that gamma ray data into a database that we can handle and work it. In terms of the other stuff, I'm still a bit confused on what you need for the TOC and clay stuff. Like, you're just wanting to make property maps over the tops, right? Like cream
Yeah,
map of some sort, TOC volume over all of that. So you need the, I guess, either calculate that inside a kingdom or something, or we provide it to you straight up, right?
I think y'all provided, let me see.
What's that?
I don't think y'all provided TOC or clays in the outputs that you gave me.
Okay,
And
so you
that's
didn't get
why,
that data.
well, that's why I thought it may be easier just to pull it into what into the module that you've already made an IP.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a couple of different options for mapping now.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, and as proficient as you guys are. So, I mean, I tried to like add in a few wells and I was not doing it right from my notes that you had given me. So, and I didn't know if you had improved the module since we last went over it in December.
No, I don't think anything much has changed there fundamentally. It's still minimum curvature mapping, right? Yeah, all you gotta do is just select the wells in both of the boxes and then select the tops you want, and then you hit the M button, and then it does what it does, right? Like, there's really not much, that you can control in the mapping process. It's like simplistic minimum curvature for dumb people like me that aren't geologists, right? It's just to look at that properties. But we could calculate those properties for you and provide it in a spreadsheet that you could then use in more powerful mapping software. Or I've got an alternative piece of software I've been playing with that can do some mapping, but it's still going to be probably minimum curvature, but a little bit more configurable.
Maybe, yeah, if you could export those, because you normalized at least your MLR and TOC to that core, that olivine well, right?
Sort of, yeah. We didn't really normalize the curve itself, but we were looking at the maturity relationships and stuff up there versus down into the Delaware Basin, where obviously it's a lot deeper, right? So we
Yeah.
kind of tuned the Kerogen density and BRO relationship up in that area so that we were matching that core.
Right.
And that will impact the volume of TOC because the less dense TOC or more dense, the volume changes. So.
Okay. Well, I think I mean, I didn't think this would take that long. I think that was mainly what I wanted to extract from you guys. I know you had done some pressure mapping with Calvin and James. Do you have the formula for that so I could run it on some of these wells that have sonic?
Yeah, there's let me see if I can find it here real quick. But what we had done, which was not one of the most scientifically rigorous things, was James had produced that gigantic data set of like mud weights and stuff, right? And what I had done, what I usually do, is try to run correlation, right? Try to optimize. So I took all of the data that James had, and basically what I did was I tried to build an Eaton pressure model and figure out what the coefficients were for the different lithologies based off of how bad my fit was or how good my fit was, right? So like I just let it run, changing the values, and it basically found the best solution with the most minimal amount of error with the lowest values possible for the Eaton exponents, which I think was like 0.5 or something. So I've got a multi-line formula, I want to say somewhere, I'm looking for it, that does this. I guess it's just called Eaton pore pressure. Yeah, that's it.
You
There
do it
is.
over just Midland Basin?
Just the Midland Basin. The problem I had with it, I mean, we ran it, and I'll just take a screenshot here, and then I'll send you the actual thing. I'll email it to you or whatever, so you have it. But the problem I had with it was like these mud weights, the pore pressure in those formations is much lower than what you use to drill the well, especially a horizontal well, where you may be overweight a bit, and you're also dealing with the horizontal dynamics of the wellbore stability, which are different than a vertical well, right? Like in an ideal world, the mud weight from the vertical well, if and only if you are on the condition where the formation is permeable and you're perfectly balanced, right? So you're not taking losses, you're not flowing at surface, then, and only then, the mud weight is equal to the pore pressure. But any other problem, and that no longer holds. So my feeling was the numbers that James was getting for some of these things, I mean, it's like 0.7, 0.8 PSI per foot, pore pressures at some of these depths. So what the equations do is they take, these sonic curves and basically scale them. So like, in the Wolfcamp C, for example, you've got really slow clays. That doesn't necessarily mean that we've got 0.8 PSI per foot there, right? So although it matched, I tuned it a little bit so that it dialed it back some, because I think it was predicting pore pressures that were just way too high because they were matched to that mud weight data.
The mud weight, yeah. I've got some DST data. I don't think I've got any PVT data. I mean, a lot of these DSTs are. Oh no, there's a few of them that are not in the conventional anticlines.
Ultimately, you've got geologic complexity too, and trapping and stuff. You could have different pressure regimes and everything else going on, and you only know as much as the data you have supports, right? Like,
yeah, and I don't have a lot of I have some mud log data, but not a lot. There hasn't been a lot of Penn shale horizontals in this area. I'll look to see what mud logs, because you're supposed to report those to the state from New Mexico. So I'll look for those.
is this like a federal lease area or not? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's state and fed.
Okay.
Yeah, so for the state plans, you're required to submit all of your log curves. I mean, Devon used to get around it by like not submitting their specialty curves. But most of the time you're supposed to be submitting a lot more than just your CBL. So I'll look for mud logs to see if you think, and send them to you and see if you think that it varies from what you modeled in the Midland Basin. And if not, then I can just use what you and James kind of came up with. If that works.
Yeah, let me just, I'm looking through the problem with this is it was never like approached as a project. It was just approached as like, hey, let's screw around with this and see if we can get it to work.
Well, it
And I
seems like
never really,
it has been used. It was one of the bigger drivers in the Novi model for the Wolfcamp D.
Well, I don't, like I say, I don't think the model constitutively is like wrong or anything. I just think the magnitudes might be a bit high, but I did pull it down a bit. I got an email here. So one of the problems we had was once we got it made and dialed in, then the problem, how do we get it to run in Kingdom? You
Well,
know?
yeah, because that'll be, how do I get it to run in Petra?
So I'm sending you an email that you should get in a few minutes of back and forth between James and I on that.
Okay.
And he managed to sort of get it sorted in Kingdom. I don't know. I suspect he's using Petra now, isn't he? Or is he?
No, he's using Kingdom, but I mean, if it's a simple algorithm code, I should be able to run it in Petra.
Okay,
I'll
well,
just have to define the discriminator logs.
yeah, all that stuff is in that email. If you need any help, let me know. I can help sort of resurrect this thing from the grave. And the bad part about it is I'm looking and I can't really find that I captured much of this in any presentations, right? Like it's it's in my head, and that's not good, right? Like we should have some slides or something. But
Yeah, you
maybe
definitely need to capture it as part of just workflows that you've given.
it's there's something out there somewhere. I just need to find it of the photos I'm thinking of with those dots from the mud weights against the predicted pore pressure, because I want you to see exactly how high or low it is compared to those mud weights, you know?
Yeah.
But you can run it yourself, and just if you do a PSI per foot, it's the easiest to kind of make sense of. And keeping in mind that most horizontal stress gradients in most parts of the Midland Basin are about 0.6 to 0.7 PSI per foot. Having a pore pressure over a 0.6 PSI per foot is really difficult to support, like science or geomechanically or whatever. It's tough to.
I think we had 0.7. We had some of these were frac gradients, though. We were hitting
Yeah, frac
some.
gradient's different than pore pressure. Yeah, frac gradient 0.7, 0.8. You could
Yeah.
have a pore pressure slightly lower than that, but if it's any higher than the Rockwood frac itself, right?
Yeah. But that was deep Delaware Basin.
Yeah, I used to do all that work for Anadarko and Chesapeake out there on those Morrow, Atoka, and Strawn intervals. Well, we had to run 15K pressure gear because those things would just scream at us, right? Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, the discovery well for this field blew out. So I know that there's pressure down there.
oh, there you go.
I just kind of wanted to see if that, since it was such a large contributor to in the Novi model as a contributor to production in the Midland Basin for this age equivalent shale, I just thought it would be advantageous to go through the same exercise. The offset operator that's drilled the majority of these wells, they say it's that the geological driver is the organics, and where you do not get all of these hybrid event beds that basically occlude your resource interval. Some of them have, secondary or primary, most of it's secondary porosity, but a lot of these wells are perforated in the deep, with a few of them being perforated with some of that, where they did have some kind of like 4 to 6% porosity in some of these stringers have kind of perforated, but majority of it is they're saying is kind of the organics and where you don't have a lot of this conventional material. Hence they're asked for, clay and TOC.
So, so are they saying that, if I read that right, that net footage of unconventional rock is sort of what the metric is?
Right, yeah, but net conventional rock, I'm just using kind of something as simple and archaic as a gamma ray cutoff doesn't always mean that porosity is the kind of porosity that you want. Especially if these clays have varying amounts of smectite.
Always comes back to the smectite.
Yeah. Did this pressure model, did you do it over the deep interval? I mean, did you look at the Barnett? Because this is these depths that I'm looking at are like 11,000 feet.
Well, that's the thing, is I'm still digging through emails, and I think that's where this lives. But I need to find the data that was used for this thing also, that was provided by James, because that'll answer some of those questions. Yes, I believe we had stuff probably mostly through the Strawn and the D. I don't know how much data there was from the deeper stuff, because a lot of it was operational data. So you didn't have many wells that you drilled, right, in the Barnett at that point.
Well, no, we had the stuff on the platform, that little terrace that Dave had drilled, but nothing that we're drilling now. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably need to loop back with James and see if he organized. Well, here, hold on a second. What's this? File with merge pressure variation. That's not it. Yeah, I'm sort of out of my email element here. Ran out of the list. But let me continue to dig. This is just my fault for not properly organizing this, I guess, but I can't find anything. But I am confident that we've got something somewhere that spells this out, because a lot of work was done on it, lots of exchanges, lots of plots that were made. There has to be something somewhere.
I mean, yeah, and if it's being used by others like Kelsey and Calvin, it's obviously been passed along. Well, I'll get you guys some wells for some normalizing, and then I'll look for the mud logs, and then I'll play around with your little mapping module that you have in IP for the TUC and clay. But yeah, if you could get me some of that exported, it'd be great from those F wells.
Yeah, if you need any help with that at all, feel free to reach out to any of us. We'll help you run through that screen share or whatever if you get hung up. But if and when, or as soon as I find this other stuff, I'll let you know. And then for the outputs that you need, you just want statistics like that we provided before, but include TOC and B clay.
Yeah, you may as well just include the statistics around kind of your MSOL curves, your not your MSOL curves, your lithology output.
Okay, so lithologies, TOC, just all the MSOL stuff.
Yeah, just the outputs, yeah. And did those RWs change anything? I mean,
well, I don't recall. I have to go back and look too. Like, first of all, I just find it suspicious that when I opened that damn thing, it was already dialed in on that. So I almost wonder if it was me that was in there before, playing, right? And found that. But I also had that massive 3D property model that I built that had a bunch of data from the Delaware Basin in it. There's like thousands and thousands of wells. So it's quite possible that this data may be new and supplemental. It might add additional resolution. We probably need to look at it in more detail. let me just write that down, but.
I did
don't-
give your image of how we dialed back M to my new reservoir engineer, Adam. I'm gonna go over that with him on Wednesday, just because these wells don't make any water. So I'm just assuming it's gotta be bound. I don't have any water sample tests, obviously. I can try to dig on some of the state and fed platforms. I gotta refresh
Well-
myself and figuring out where these little nuggets, these holes of data kind of coexist.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem that you just kind of almost have to solve by using whatever information you got, right? The process of elimination. And we do have other stuff, like again, it's just poo on me and poo on Doug and whoever else that didn't. And I shouldn't say that because maybe Doug's got this stuff organized better, but I'm just digging as you're talking. Like there's a thing that we did back in 2022 using ADT wells and looking at M's and N's and finding the data that had or the wells that had a lot of calibration data, both from core and advanced log suites, and using that to derive a model. So there's lots of stuff I'm looking at in here, and I wouldn't be surprised that the slopes are different. If you could dial the RW in, and you've got a decent range for the M and N, even if we can find some of these Dudley wells with the advanced ADT,
Yeah.
then that's a huge case for you to say, yeah, these things are 1.8 or 1.5 or something. I got lists.
There's gotta be something somewhere. I mean,
We need to do another go around for look at dielectrics and stuff. I don't know. And then the processing, Doug should know off the top of his head too, what's out there.
well, I don't know if he's looked at, if anybody has really looked at New Mexico, because that was forbidden land for forever. And now
That
it's
was-
kind of,
That was Daniel, right? That was Daniel's area for a long time.
I don't know. I don't talk to that guy. I just know Danny Wesson, our COO, did not want to get into New Mexico because when he worked for Bobco, when he worked for Bass, I guess it was, he hated it. But I mean, now it's fine. But I don't know. I don't know what Daniel has done in the New Mexico side. I don't know if he did analysis that stretched above and beyond Loving County and Lee and Eddy in the south. But my directive is to just utilize you for what I have to do. So I'm not, and it sounds like he's being labeled like Mr. Barnett and only Barnett. So I'm not gonna probably worry about trying to take some of his time unless it's just for, kind of if he's got some things up his sleeve that he remembered doing when he was at Concho.
Well, it's too bad really that we're in the state that we're in where Sebastian had done a bunch of work over there too. So now Sebastian's gone and you kind of lose some of that information, I guess, but we'll refigure it out, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Sebastian had his fingers in a lot of stuff, come to find out. So I don't, yeah, I think we're gonna have to just kind of play this by ear. And it was nice to see that, QEP does have some analysis in this. It'd be nice if there was more effort into kind of cataloging or organizing all the data from an acquisition that we made 6 years ago. But, so those are, so I'll look at those things and, get you a list for normalizing. You have a new person on this call.
Yeah, we got a new intern, that started. I don't know if you've met him too. Uh, he's looking at a number of different things and has got, some background in programming. So if you need some Python scripts or something, sure he'd be more than happy to help.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've met PNP. Nice. How do you say your name? Akaradek.
My name is Pon. Yeah. I'm Pon.
We got Pon, Foy, and then, because Thai people usually go by, like, they call it a play name or whatever, right? But it's not the real name, like a nickname, I guess, is what
Yeah,
you would say,
nickname.
like
Yes.
nickname, yeah. So
Yes.
like, we got, um,
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'll send over these things, and look at some of the mud logs and stuff for you, Bannis, and, appreciate the help.
yeah, we'll dig here too. I'm gonna continue to dig until now you got me bothered because I can't find this stuff from James. It disappeared into the ether. I'll find it. And I'll send it across when I get it.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. We'll
right.
be in touch soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah, take care.
Take care.